Mosharraf, driven by his adventurous spirit, took his father's fishing boat and set out into the sea. This wasn't the first time. He had done it before, bringing back fish successfully. Being the son of a fisherman didn't necessarily mean he had to become one, yet despite being just a ninth grader, he was daring. The sea beckoned him, and he couldn't refuse its call. That day too, he had taken his father's fishing boat and ventured into the ocean. The southern sky had already darkened ominously, but he ignored it. Even though he knew a storm was coming, his reckless bravery had led him to make the mistake of underestimating its danger. By the time Mosharraf's boat had drifted far from the shore, the storm had already begun. Caught in the furious waves, the boat rocked violently before suddenly capsizing. Finding himself thrown into the vast water, he instinctively began to fight for his life. He was a skilled swimmer, and with sheer determination, he kept himself afloat. Swimming tirelessly, he eventually reached the shore, just as dusk was settling in. However, he had no idea where he had arrived. The unfamiliar coast was surrounded by dense jungle. Exhausted from his relentless struggle, his eyes grew heavy, and before he knew it, he had fallen asleep on the sandy dunes. When he awoke, the next day's sun had just risen. The eastern sky was painted a deep red as the sun cast its first rays. Mosharraf was starving. There was no food on the dunes. To quench his thirst, he drank the salty seawater. Then he started walking towards the jungle. As he wandered through the thick vegetation of creepers, shrubs, and towering trees, he noticed round, wild fruits hanging from a tree, just within his reach. He plucked one, peeled it, and took a bite. It wasn't particularly delicious, but it wasn't poisonous either. It wasn't enough to satisfy his hunger, but at least it kept him from starving. It was this unknown fruit and the salty seawater that were keeping him alive. Day and night, Mosharraf prayed, saying, "Oh Lord, please find a way for me to return home." During the day, the sand of the dunes became scorching hot under the sun, forcing him to rest in the shade of the trees. At night, the sand turned cold, making him shiver uncontrollably. Eventually, he gathered dry leaves and branches and built himself a small hut to shelter in. He even found a flint stone in the jungle, and with its help, he managed to start a fire with dry wood, his only source of warmth during the long nights. Days turned into weeks. Nearly 20 days had passed. The sun rose, the birds chirped, and the waves crashed against the shore, but nothing changed. Every day he prayed the same prayer, and now he was growing weary. He had almost given up hope of ever returning home. Then, one night, disaster struck. His hut suddenly caught fire and was reduced to ashes. In the lonely silence of the desolate shore, Mosharraf cried out in despair,
"Oh Lord, how many more tests will you put me through? I can't endure this anymore. Were all my prayers in vain?"
The next morning, as he wandered aimlessly along the shore, he spotted a fishing trawler approaching. Seeing this unexpected sight, he ran toward it. The tide was low, making it easier for the trawler's captain to spot him. As soon as he reached the shore, the captain hurriedly called him aboard. Overwhelmed by the sudden opportunity, Mosharraf climbed in and asked,
"How did you find me?"
Didn't you send out a fire signal last night?
Mosharraf was puzzled. He hadn't sent out any fire signal. Then it struck him. Perhaps the captain had mistaken the flames from his burning hut for one. As he recounted the story of his 20 days of survival, he didn't forget to mention how the fire had nearly turned him from a believer into a non-believer. As the tide rose, the trawler sailed forward. After a while, the middle-aged captain spoke as if to himself.
God is merciful. Everything happens for a reason. If your hut hadn't burned down, I wouldn't have seen the flames and come here. You would have been stranded for even longer."
Mosharraf sat in silence, contemplating the captain's words. Please subscribe to my channel for more